right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you all for joining us. I know that we got a couple more people trickling in, but we're going to go ahead and get started because we got some amazing content. So we would like to welcome you to our session, Smarter Events, Happier at CventIQ, or as I like to call it.
There we go.
So cat's out of the bag here. We just saw that, most of you, if not all of you, were able in our general session yesterday where Reggie unveiled this amazing initiative called IQ. They did a great job talking about it, but we are really going to be able to dig in a little bit more and really help you understand what does this mean for you, what does this mean for your events, and how you'll be able to go through and leverage it. My name is Ron Justice. I may have been on some calls or interacted with a lot of you. I'm a principal solution consultant, so I actually help support our sales team and with beautiful people just like you in the room today or online. Anytime you're evaluating a new product or solution here at Cvent, I'm the tech guy that kind of bring in and make sure that it is an appropriate fit. And I'm joined by my colleague, Britt.
Hey everyone, my name's Brittany Fisher. I'm on the product marketing team here at Cvent. So my role is taking our product developments and making sure that they resonate with our customers just like you. And IQ specifically has been my baby for like the last year, so I'm excited to be up here talking about it. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to go over a little bit of what the latest is with AI and how we're thinking about it, because we all know it's a very fast-moving trend right now. We'll dive into what IQ is, just a little bit deeper than Reggie did yesterday. And we'll talk a little bit about some misconceptions when it comes to AI, frequently asked questions around security, things like that. And then we'll dive into the good stuff. Where can AI make the most impact in your events today? And we'll save some time for Q&A as well. So I'm sure you guys have seen this a lot already, but I do have to show this forward-looking statement. Today we will talk about some things on the roadmap, and we just want to say that things can shift and nothing is set in stone. So let's get started. Quick question. Did you all catch the big game last night? You know what everyone's talking about? Yeah, I hear a lot of no's in the answer. That's how I felt. Most recently, I was trying to get caught up with the Knicks game. I live in New York, and everyone was talking about the Knicks when they were playing. And I was just looking on my phone all the time, like, okay, when are they playing? I should be able to talk about this. Everyone's talking about it, but I'm not up to speed. And there's that pressure. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, that's kind of how AI feels. Everyone's talking about it, but no one really is an expert yet. No one really knows what's going on, and it's really hard to get caught up and to know what you're talking about. So that's what we're here to do today. We are going to give you the latest on Cvent's AI technology so we can break it down for you, make it a little bit more relatable, and so you have something to talk about at the proverbial water cooler next week.
All right, team. We're going to ask everyone to go through and kind of take out your phones. If you haven't, go ahead and navigate to the session, and we're going to actually go through and participate in a poll. And before we kind of dive in and really start talking about CventIQ, we would just want to understand what are your stance on IQ as well as AI specifically. So we'll give you a couple seconds to be able to go through, get those responses in. Feel like Alex Trebek doing Jeopardy up here, so.
It's interesting. We have excited but don't know too much about it, and you understand that AI can be impactful and provide a better attendee experience. I mean, that makes sense. You guys are all here. You're probably at least a little interested.
Yeah. And, we got some people that were honest and saying they're concerned about it. What is this impact going to mean on their job? Security, we understand that's very paramount. And it just also, maybe some of you just feel like you're having to do it to keep up with the industry. So we're going to do our best to be able to go through and address all of these concerns. And hopefully by the end of today's session, you all are going to be IQ advocates. But we'll try our best there.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. There's a key tension point when we start talking about AI. There's so many of us, and all of you in the room, I'm sure, you feel like AI is this inevitable thing that you're having to be able to go through and learn to be able to make your life easier, to be able to give you some time back in your day and maximize on those efficiencies. But let's just be honest, there's the other side of the group, maybe that you don't trust AI. Maybe you're a little bit worried about it being reliable. You want control. If you're like me, I'm a grade A control freak, so I do not like giving away anything. And really just understanding what does that mean as it relates to AI. So there are a couple of things that we're really going to be able to go through and talk about, but probably the biggest thing is going to be just talking about how you're going to be able to adopt AI and really be able to understand Cvent's stance around artificial intelligence and making sure that it's a secure environment for you all.
Yeah, so we took these key tension points and we're really, this came from our user research. I stole this slide from our user research teams, don't tell them. But we recognize that and are using it in our development of how we're thinking about IQ. But with that, I want to go into some common AI misconceptions. These are probably the frequently asked questions that I get the most. And some of it's true with AI, but not necessarily true with an IQ. And so I just want to get ahead of it, answer some of those questions before we dive in. The biggest one I hear the most is the fear that AI will share the data. And that can be true with using an OpenAI, a large language model that you put information in and it's just there in the ether forever. And that's scary. You don't know what's happening to your data. So in IQ, we use what's called closed data modeling. So all of our AI tools live within this closed model and they don't get shared out to the other tools. All of your AI is specific to your account specifically. So it only takes information from your events and oftentimes readily available information within your events, like your event title or your attendees who have opted in. So that's where we get our information for IQ.
Yeah. Let's break that down a little bit. I mean, when we're talking about AI not sharing your data, what this essentially means is any data that you're putting into Cvent, that's what we're referencing. We're not searching the interwebs, we're not searching Google and pulling information from there, but it also means that we are not sharing any of your data information. So again, that closed model environment is something that we really, really want to go through and stress and make you all feel confident as you're evaluating the usage of CventIQ.
Yep, absolutely. And the next one I hear a lot is the fear that AI is full automation. You have to do everything, it has to automate all your processes, and that can be scary and that can be intimidating. And we're really not there yet. We know that AI still has some kinks to work out. And so with CventIQ, you can actually turn on the features. It's a feature by feature enabling. So you can start using AI small and how it works for you.
Britt, I remember one thing that when we were prepping for today's session and we're actually talking with McNeil, who was on stage to the Taylor Swift song a couple of times, you may recognize him. He told me, he was like, Ron, AI, especially IQ, we are gearing it to be what we call human-centered. That means each and every one of you in the room, while it is designed to be able to make your life easier, whether you're looking to generate things such as session descriptions, social media blog posts, being able to go through and take advantage of things like the report designer, you are still in control of the overall experience. Meaning if you want to make edits, you want to review it, and decide to even move forward to publish these experiences, you have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, great point. And that kind of leads into the next one, the fear that AI will take our jobs. We've all heard that. And it's true that there are things that will be automated, but most of you in the room are event planners and marketers, and it is literally the most stressful job on earth. And so you could use a little bit of time back in your day. But the other thing is that we're in the business of human connection. These are events that can never be taken away or replaced by AI. So I hope that's just a little bit of reassurance while you are leaning into AI. The next one I hear a lot is your data doesn't matter. AI can help that. So you're feeding a lot of data into an AI tool, and while AI can help clean that up, your data really, really, really matters. We have this saying, garbage in, garbage out. So you just want to be careful about what tools you're using and where they're getting their data from, because data hygiene and using clean, up-to-date data is really, really imperative for the outputs that you are getting from these models.
It's only as good as what you give it. So remember that.
Exactly. And then the last one is the learning curve. AI can be intimidating. It's where do you start? How do you create that perfect prompt? There's literally masterclasses on just creating prompts to use AI correctly, and that's intimidating, and we hear that at CventIQ. And so we're trying to make it as easy as possible, where it's built into your processes, where you already work, and oftentimes just using the click of a button as well. So we'll go into some examples, but we just wanted to address some of these misconceptions and frequently asked questions that we get a lot. But let's dive into exactly what CventIQ is.
I couldn't agree more. So before we wanted to go through and start talking about AI, which is what we call CventIQ, I think we all have to agree upon what AI is and what AI is not. So I know yesterday was a very busy and long day, so we're just going to go through and quickly review some of the many exciting features and value props that McNeil as well as Reggie talked about on the main stage yesterday. CventIQ is going to be the new face of all of our AI and machine learning technology enabled by your event data. That means it's already integrated into the workflows and features that you are taking advantage of today. And it's going to be centered around kind of these 4 key points that we'll also dive into a little bit more. It's integrated and it's contextual. Being human-centered is probably the thing that resonates with me, being that control freak. We are industry leaders, and so we really want you to be able to lean on Cvent. Cvent has been around since 1999, so if I'm doing my math right, it's a little over 25 years. And I think we know what we're kind of doing in this space. And then data-driven solutions. We understand whether you're a marketer, whether you are an event planner, you need to be able to go through and prove things such as return on investment, how successful this event was, or maybe wasn't, but I know all of you, you're having successful events. Instead of having to spend copious amounts of time going through data, why not use AI to be able to go through and give you some time back in your day, easily providing you that information, so that way you can make better informed decisions. So that's really what we'll be talking about.
Yep, and that's a great overview and leads into our 4 pillars. So all of CventIQ is built around 4 pillars. And what these are is, through our research, we saw 4 main pain point areas that we think AI can really make an impact to solve. And you can see they kind of follow the event build journey, the attendee journey here. The first is venue and vendor collaboration. How can we make finding venues and vendors easier? The second is user efficiency. So as an event builder, how can we automate some of those tedious processes that you do over and over and over again? How can we make your job just a little bit easier? The next is personalizing the attendee experience. And finally, data and insights. So we will go through real-life examples for all 4 of these pillars, but just know that this is where we're focusing our AI technology on through the roadmap as well. But let's dive into the good stuff. Venue and vendor collaboration is where we'll start. So think about, what's the hardest part of your role when it comes to venue and vendor sourcing? At Cvent, we have a pretty unique position in that we have event organizers, but we also have hoteliers and vendors as a part of our ecosystem, and we want to figure out how to bring those together and make those processes a lot easier. But how do we actually do this? Ron, can you give us a couple of examples?
Yeah, why not? All right. I'm sure each and every one of you are using the Cvent Supplier Network, and if you're not, I know that you're going to when you get back home to the office. Think about the legacy version or a classic version of CSN. Today, you're having to go through, so let's just say, great, I'm doing an event in San Antonio, maybe I'm looking for particular properties, and I want to be able to go through and have a particular star rating, and I'm eco-friendly, so I want it to be a sustainable property. That's a lot of different filters to be able to go through and have to go through and click to be able to find the property that I'm looking for. But why not use the new CSN AI search assistant to be able to have a conversation essentially through your keys and your fingerboard and your keyboards there to be able to easily go through and find the venues that you're looking for. No longer is it going to take you minutes, but really just a couple clicks of a button to easily be able to find that. All right. So I like to, call myself a little bit of a social aficionado. Every year with my friends, I plan this amazing trip, typically to a lake, and I'm selfish because it's usually for my birthday. So, I want you all to think about, 2026, and you're going on an event, whether it's for work or with your friends, and you're in a new city. Think about the stress that goes with that of having to be able to find activities, be able to find venues, caterers, or vendors. No more do you have to go through and worry about that. With the Cvent Vendor Marketplace, we're going to allow you to be able to go through and use the power of AI to be able to conduct those tailored searches. And this is going to allow you to be able to, with a click of a button, find unique experiences. And with Reposit being one of our newest acquisitions, one thing that we're super excited about is now our customers are gonna have access to over 35,000 different vendor options, ranging from transportations, restaurants, entertainment, and even more. So again, as a part of the Cvent vendor marketplace, there are a couple things I wanna go through and highlight. The AI chatbot, this is gonna allow for you to be able to go through and easily get quotes compared to other that have been completed by hotels. We'll also be able to go through and do the vendor matching. So when you're going through and you're filling out that RFP form, you're going to put in some key details. And what AI is going to be able to go through and do is instantly connect you with the best option. I know I could have used that when I was looking for that lake house and I was spending hours and hours amount of time, and I'm like, oh gosh, I just really wish something would have helped with that. And then lastly, the proposal builder. I think the really cool thing about that is it takes contextual information from your conversation directly into a beautiful client-facing proposal that makes you look amazing at your job.
Yeah, and before I dive into the next feature, which is one of my favorite to talk about, I wanted to mention, I know you guys have heard a lot about AI, especially in the roadmap session yesterday, but these are all functionality that is available today, either total general availability or some of them are in beta, but they're all available throughout the product today. And I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. But the next thing I wanted to talk about is diagramming. We know that creating an event layout can be a lot of iteration. Maybe you have a design in mind and then you see it and it just like doesn't work. Or maybe the venue said they had something that they don't actually have and you have to figure that out on site. Regardless, it's a lot of constant changing and you need to redesign it and visualize it and see if it all works, and that can be very time consuming. So we now have an assistant in our event diagramming tool that is a chatbot that lets you have those conversations, say you need to change your layout, say you need to change your tables, as you can see here, and it'll update it in real time in 3D so you can really see what it's gonna look like before you get to the space.
All right, so we're now gonna move to our next pillar, and I'm hoping not only all four of them are gonna resonate with you, but this one specifically, increasing user efficiency. So I guess, like, how many of you want some time back in your day? No? All right, we got a couple. All right, good. So we are gonna talk about how IQ is gonna be able to give you that time back in your day to work on more important aspects of your job, or even let you get home a little bit early so you can play with your kids. So, Britt, let's go ahead and move to the next one.
Perfect. I love talking about the AI writing assistant. How many of you have heard of the AI writing assistant before? Right. That's what I figured. Most of you.
How many, really quickly,
yeah.
How many of you have used the AI writing assistant? All right.
Smaller amount. Yeah. But it is probably the most talked about AI tool that we have, and it's probably the most common way that AI is thought of, content creation. But what some of you may or may not know is we rolled out the AI writing assistant about 2 years ago, and over the last 6 months, we've rolled out a new version. So before it was a little, I don't know, basic maybe, but now it is a conversational chatbot where it can really go back and forth in content creation across the platform. And those who aren't familiar, this is a tool that helps with content creation in, I think, like 10 of our products where you're creating content. So it can be anything from like email content to session descriptions to even speaker bios. But my favorite thing about the AI writing assistant is that it's contextual. So it knows where you're working in your event. So it knows that you're writing an email versus something else, and it has that event information. So if you were to go to an OpenAI, you would have to give it all of your event information before you would be able to get any sort of relevant output. But this already has that information. It has your session title, it has your event title and location, just making it even quicker and easier to create that content for your event. All right, that's a lot about writing content, but Ron, let's talk about videos.
All right, I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here. So as a kid, I used to love watching TV, but then I would also put captions on, and it drove my mom crazy. And it wasn't just because I was watching foreign movies or TV shows. I'm just watching X-Men, Spider-Man, and she's just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I like to read and watch TV. You think my mom would have been happy about that? However, when we start talking about the idea of captions and subtitles, Accessibility is, I would say last year was a huge focus in event tech and even here within Cvent. But when we also start talking about the other side of that, subtitles, what we are allowing and empowering you to be able to go through and do is increase the reach of your attendees and audience members who are watching either that virtual or on demand or simu-live content. So no longer will you have to go through and either have to type in those captions on your own or work with a third party. We're able to go through and auto-generate that by using IQ technology. This is going to save you time and also save you a couple of bucks, also eliminating that complex tech stack that you may have. Now, when I start thinking about the idea of the auto captions, this is a great way to be able to go through and reach those attendees who may have some form of disability. And I thought it was an interesting fact about 1 in 4 people have some form of disability. So instead of being able to go through and alienate those people, you're able to kind of bring them into the fold. And then for any of you who are doing more global events or events at different locations, we're able to go through and reach out to those attendees as well, so that way they can have a more localized experience. And I will have to say, even now as an adult, even I still do put on the captions and subtitles. I would say without those things, I wouldn't be able to watch my favorite foreign film. So just a little anecdote there.
Yeah, big caption person here as well. But let's take that a bit further. So you have your on-demand content, you've added captions, you've added subtitles, but you want to make sure that your videos are accessible. And large events, especially like this, can create a ton of content. And you can put that on demand to your attendees, but having them find the right content can be difficult. Say we have a session like this, where we are talking about the 4 pillars of AI, but maybe you just do venue sourcing for your job. That's your entire job. If we put this on demand, you would have to watch the entire thing before you can figure out what's relevant to you. But with auto-generated video chapters, it will do that for you. It'll break the video into natural chapters based on topics so that your attendees can find what they're looking for even faster.
All right, so we actually have a new feature. I know Brittany and I were talking about everything is live today, but we wanted to spice it up a little bit. So if you, first of all, this is a shameless plug for the beta program. If you are not in it, I would love for each and every one of you to be in it. Our attendee chatbot. So I'm going to ask all of you to, participate and raise your hands again. How many of you have been plastered with the same question over and over from your attendees? Let's be honest here. All right, shameless plug, sometimes I do that as well. I don't read all the time. But think about how much time maybe you could be saving, as well as being able to provide a better attendee experience. So something that is currently in beta is going to be that attendee chatbot. No longer am I having to go through and answer the same question. When is lunch going to be? What's the dress code? Where's the location? How do I get from the airport? We know that those questions time and time again just add up. So being able to go through, and what we like to call it is an event concierge, is going to alleviate that burden, allowing for you to be able to go through and have attendees' questions easily answered, and also providing those personalized responses. For instance, it'll be able to go through and suggest what is an agenda that is maybe designated for an event marketer versus someone who's going to be a little bit more on the IT side. And this is something, while today is going to be in beta in our event registration, it will soon also be coming out in the Attendee Hub.
Yeah. So we have the video playing here. I'll do one more shameless plug for the beta program, just because almost all of our AI functionality is going to be in the beta program. So if you want to shape how these tools are coming to life in the future, please jump into our beta program. All right. So social media marketing. If we have any marketers in here, we know that marketing an event is a huge piece and sometimes a forgotten about piece. We have to try and get people there, but creating social media kits can be one of the last things that we do, and it's done at the very last minute, maybe not the best. So the social media marketing is a tool that we released. It's kind of similar to the writing assistant in that it's a conversational chatbot that knows your event's context, but it's dedicated to creating social media marketing. So it creates little blurbs for LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook that you can use to put on your socials and drive registration and create that buzz that you need. So just another quick way to get more people registered for your event. All right, that's everything on user efficiency, but let's talk about my favorite, which is personalizing the attendee experience.
All right, team. So when I think about personalized attendee experience, something that really resonates with me, and I'm sure maybe all of you in the room, think about when you were logging into one of the many streaming platforms that I know all and each and every one of us has. And my taste may be a little bit different from Brittany's or Nick's or Callie in the back room as an example. And that's how your event should be. Why not use IQ as a way to be able to drive those personalized experiences for the attendee? And what we're doing is looking at some of that past data, looking at attendee preferences, and using AI as a way to be able to go through and tailor things such as communication, recommended sessions or activities that are going to align with each of your individual interests. We want you all to feel special, and so should your attendees when they come to your events. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the next one.
Yeah, before we go into the product here, we've heard so much about personalization in the last year. I don't know if you guys have. We're talking about it constantly. And it's kind of an interesting thing because personalization is not new, but it is a hot topic right now. And why is that? It's not just because you are wanting to feel like you have a demure brat summer Tuesday afternoon. That's great. But personalization makes our attendees feel seen and understood, which is the baseline of what every event is. But what I love is this fact. According to Adobe, 71% of consumers expect their interactions to be tailored to their event needs. And what I think the key word there is not the 71%, but it's an expectation now. Personalization is no longer a nice to have. Your attendees expect it. And for a lot of event planners, especially at small orgs, putting on huge events, personalization has just never been accessible. The amount of hours it would take to try and personalize every single email or personalize an on-site experience, it wasn't possible before. And that's where I think AI can really, really make the most impact.
All right, so I'm going to talk about attendee recommendations. So shamelessly at Cvent, I like to make friends, and with coworkers as well as all of you. So when you're at an event like this, and we have thousands and thousands of people, it is literally virtually impossible to be able to go through and say hi to all of the right people. And I'm sure that your attendees may feel that at your events. With attendee recommendations, you can just, with the flick of a switch, turn this feature on. And what it is designed to do is be able to facilitate more powerful and meaningful connections by recommending attendees for specific networking opportunities. Now, behind the scenes, what we're looking at are going to be things like attendee profiles. We're then going to be able to go through and match them based off of different criteria, such as maybe the exhibitors that you have visited, maybe even looking at your search history. Again, we're not big brothering you guys, but again, just being able to go through and take some of those key pieces of information. And then lastly, we're looking at things like the sessions that those attendees may be enrolled in. From there, we're going to be able to go through and generate a matching criteria to be able to go through and say, great, Ron, you should meet with Erica. Ron, you should meet with Jen as an example. And what I love about this isn't a stagnant feature. This is something that is constantly being updated every 24 hours so you can ensure that you are meeting the best and the appropriate people at the event. Pretty cool, I think. All right, now we're gonna go through and do something a little different. I know I've asked you to pull out your phones a couple of times, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but I do want to talk about session recommendations. Think about an event that you are all at today, like Cvent Connect, a little complex event, like to call it ourselves, and think about all of the amazing sessions that you possibly could attend, like this one, so thank you for coming. But think about being able to easily go through and with a click of a button, have AI to be able to tell you or your attendees, these are the sessions that we recommend for you. Great, we have session recommendations. So what we're going to be able to go through and do is allow for attendees to easily go through, see the sessions that are going to be recommended for them. And we're looking at things such as looking at maybe other attendees' profiles that may be registered for that session as well, to go through and say, great, Ron, you're interested in AI. Looks like Callie's interested in AI. Looks like Jen or Tom is interested in AI. You should probably maybe also consider going to this session as an example. So it's a pretty cool trick. And I'm not going to call myself a magician, but I'm kind of like Harry Potter. All right, we're going to talk about something that was unveiled yesterday. But before I do that, I'm just going to take like a quick, take my phone out.
What are you doing?
I'm taking a snapshot, Brittany. What do you expect?
Okay.
All right, you didn't get the joke. It's fine. It's fine. We know that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but we don't expect you to sit there and write down each and everything that Brittany and I are saying today. And we don't want you to feel that your attendee should have to do that as well. So now, with Snapshots that was unveiled yesterday and soon will also be a part of the beta program, you can empower your attendees to be able to easily go through, see a live transcript of what is being talked about. And then from there, if they would like to be able to go through and take key moments, they'll be able to go through, tap the call to action. It will be able to take the last 60 seconds of what was discussed and allow for the attendee to actually use that as their own personal notes to be able to not only view in the attendee hub, but also be able to export it and share as well. So not only does it help from compliancy, but it also helps keeps your attendees further engaged in that amazing content that I know that you're all sharing with them.
I love it. So Ron, what's your favorite time of the year?
Oh, I would have to say winter. And I don't know if it's because I just love snow or selfishly, that's when Spotify Rap comes out. I need to see like how many hours have I listened to Beyonce? How many hours have I listened to the Queen of Pop, Brittany Spears? Or most importantly, how many hours did I spend fist pumping listening to DJs like John Summit?
And while I would love to talk about Britney Spears and John Summit this entire session, we can save that for the Q&A, but it's the perfect segue into our personalized daily summaries because I like to think about this as your Spotify Wrapped, but for every day of every event. So you're doing a lot on site. All of you are here, you are attending sessions, you're talking to exhibitors, you are meeting with other people, and we have that data. And so we can give you a personalized summary of everything that you are doing at your event. And how does that benefit you? As a planner, it allows your attendees to really, really see the value that they are getting out of your event. But for your attendees, they can take it a step further and they can go back to their organizations and be like, this is what I got out of this event. This is why you send me here. This is what I need to be doing every single year. So it drives that ROI and also attendance year after year. On top of the fact that we all love little personalized summaries like Spotify Wrapped, so it's fun to see as well.
Yeah, and this is available today, currently in beta. So you are actually able to go through when all of you go back to your homes and offices and your bosses are like, Sasha, what did you do at Cvent Connect all week? And you're like, actually, I went to this amazing session on Wednesday at 10:30 by Brittany and Ron. But then I also went to this keynote. This guy was talking about it and went to a couple of exhibitors. You can see that with a click of a button now in the My Event section. All right. So we're now going to talk about data and insights and really talking about how CventIQ is going to be able to help all of you as event organizers to be able to get that powerful data in the click of a button, but also be able to go through and analyze it to be able to surface up things such as general sentiments and summaries. And before we kind of dive in, something that really resonated with me is when I was speaking with a customer and they were like, Ron, at the end of all of our events, we actually are responsible for going through and providing a summary to our CEO and our C-level suite. And like before, what we were doing was taking all of that data from Cvent and then putting it in a tool like ChatGPT as an example. And they were like, unfortunately, that system was actually going through and analyzing the data incorrectly because it wasn't contextual. It wasn't coming from the source of truth. So they didn't know this until they sent it to their boss. And unfortunately, because ChatGPT didn't know any better, it actually provided inaccurate information. And my customer got her hand slapped. And so when we talked about the amazing features and functionality that we're going to be discussing in just a minute as it relates to data and insights and how IQ is in that closed environment, she literally fell out of her chair. So Britt, let's go ahead and maybe talk about the next feature.
Absolutely, it's a perfect segue, but also it kind of was a good callback to why clean data is really, really important when using these tools. But about a month ago, we released this AI session feedback summaries, which is kind of a mouthful, but what is it exactly? Most of you hosting events probably have a survey. And if you're lucky, you get a ton of survey results. Maybe not always, but if you're lucky. And this tool can, with the click of a button, summarize all of your session feedback. So it breaks it into natural categories. So say you have feedback on the content versus the speakers. it will give sentiments and some highlights of what generally people are saying about it. So instead of having to export your surveys out of Cvent, work through Excel, try to read through all the comments and kind of make up what you think is your general sentiment, this will do that right for you. And the other thing is that you can filter. So right now, it's with the click of a button, it'll analyze all of your sessions, but say you only want it on certain sessions. So for Cvent Connect, we have about 6 or 7 solution overviews, just like this. What if we only wanted feedback on how our solution overviews are? So we could decide what we want to do next year. We can filter it just by the sessions that we're looking for, and it'll update in real time and give you new sentiment.
Yeah.
So
I think that's also a quick shameless plug to complete the survey later, if you don't mind. And give us all 5s if you can do that really quick.
But that was a great way to end the session. Yeah. That's what we have available for data and insights today. Just to wrap up, we are going to remind you again of those 4 key pillars. So we have the venue and vendor collaboration, user efficiency, personalizing the attendee experience, and data and insights. So be on the lookout for more coming in all of these categories because we are investing a lot here.
Yeah. All right, team, we got about a little less than 5 minutes left to get you out of here on time. So we're going to dive into some Q&A. If we don't get to all of your questions, you can always stop by the Innovation Pavilion. We'll make sure that we get you in front of someone. But our first one is from Amanda, and it's asking, is IQ available at every account level, or is it an add-on? All of you in the room, including Amanda, this is something that is available to you today. And one of the great things about IQ is that these features can be turned on or off at the overall account level. So if you do have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to your account representative, and we're more than happy to be able to walk you through and support you in that.
All right, and I'm just pulling out my phone because I'm going to look at questions live. Let's see what the next one is. Can we turn it off in Attendee Hub, specific events, but leave it on for the rest of our account?
Yeah, that's a great question, Clayton. So behind the scenes, our Cventers have like a little control panel that is sometimes able to go through, excuse me, not sometimes, but it is able to go through and activate certain features for you, such as maybe some of the things like My Event Daily Summaries or even auto captions or subtitles. Once those are enabled in our back office, you then have the opportunity to decide if you would like to be able to go through and use or leverage them. So yes, we'll be able to go through and kind of turn those on or off as needed for specific events or even at the overall account level.
Yep. All right, the next question is a great question. With the AI writing assistant, are you able to give it audience-specific information, like personas, and have it take on the voice of a specific person?
That's a really great question. Our AI writing assistant is now robust. As Brittany mentioned when it first came out, it was a little bit on the JV team. Now it is straight varsity. You were able to go through and be very specific and direct with it, saying, great, I would like to be able to go through and create a description for our marketing personas for this particular event, and I wanted to be able to have an enthusiastic tone as an example. All those things and more are available. And as Brittany mentioned earlier, it is going to be in more of that conversational style. So it is a great and easy, intuitive experience to kind of try out. So feel free to do so.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll add to that is it doesn't store your information because that's part of our data program. So it's not going to have the, if you ask it to be like a persona, that it'll keep that persona because we are not storing your information, because we're not taking it, but you can always write that every time and be like, we'll write in this tone of voice or like this person. All right, so the next question is, Reposit included in your account as well, or is it an additional cost?
That's a great place. So our Cvent vendor marketplace powered by Reposit is going to be an additional cost. However, please feel free to go through, talk with your Cvent account manager. They'll be able to talk more about going through and setting up a demo with members of our solution consultant team, as well as ways that you'll be able to go through and possibly leverage it.
Yep. All right, next question. IQ doesn't share data, but what if Cvent sees something from client A that could help the entire hospitality industry?
Amanda, that's a really great question. So we do want to go through and reiterate, yes, we are not going through and sharing your data from client A to client B. However, obviously in the back scenes of everything, our team is going through and looking at things like common trends and being able to go through and identify that. And when we pair that with any of the feedback that you're providing on any of our various enhancements, there may be a little bit of overlap saying, okay, great, this customer's doing this and maybe we're hearing this feedback. Are there ways that we can help maybe enhance or provide them that recommendation? So again, it is going to be a little bit more of kind of a bait and switch opportunity, but again, remember privacy is paramount and that is what is important.
Yep. All right, the next question I personally love. Is there going to be a photo feature in Snapshot? For example, we all still take photos of a slide, I do it too, that resonates, so something that could upload to our Snapshot section.
Well, I am excited to share with all of you, yes, that is coming in one of our future iterations of Snapshots, giving you the ability of not only be able to capture that transcript, generate your own text snapshot, but also capturing that screenshot, so no longer will you have to go through and take your picture.
Yep, I'm very excited for that one. All right, the question I saw a couple of times, and I know we only have a minute left, so we'll try to do one or two more questions, but is the AI writing assistant going to be added to Essentials?
It actually is available today, so you'll be able to go through and see that available within things such as like the session description and the email writing assistant as well. But if there are other areas that you feel that Essentials could benefit from using more IQ features like writing assistant, let us know.
All right, I'm going to do one final question that I think you're going to love, Ron. Does AI captioning work with CRT accessibility services?
You know, that's a really, really great question. So when we're talking about, I would say, Cvent stance as it relates to just overall accessibility overall, we are WCAG 2.2 AA compliant. That is what the gold standard that we are aiming towards. Now, we are also working towards, for any of our customers that may have any global solutions or global offices, we are also working towards the European Accessibility Act of 2025. If there are going to be maybe specific certifications that you are maybe interested in to ensuring that Cvent can cover those, one thing I will actually do is a shameless plug. In our innovation pavilion, we actually have our accessibility experts and UX designer, Stephen Cutchins. He would be more than happy to be able to speak with you a little bit more around the details of that to ensure that we're supporting you for that cart accessibility service.
All right, I know there's a ton of questions that we didn't get to. I will be in the Innovation Pavilion. We have a whole CventIQ center of the Innovation Pavilion, lots of people to answer and ask your questions to. But thank you all for coming, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.